You might be surprised to learn the Bible's seventh-day Sabbath is not a suggestion, but a divine command established at the very beginning. In Exodus 20 verses 8 to 11, God directly links the command to remember the Sabbath day back to his own rest after the 6 days of creation. This firmly roots the Sabbath in a specific, unchangeable 7-day cycle, making Saturday the biblical day of worship. Jesus himself, our perfect example, consistently kept the seventh-day Sabbath as his custom. The book of Luke confirms this was his regular practice, showing his obedience to the Father's law. Even after the crucifixion, Jesus' faithful followers still observed the seventh-day Sabbath, resting according to the commandment. The apostles, throughout the book of Acts, continued to worship and teach on the Sabbath, decades after the resurrection. This unbroken scriptural record presents a powerful and consistent witness from Genesis to the New Testament church. So the biblical foundation is unmistakably clear. The seventh day is the Lord's holy day. So when did this monumental shift actually occur? The answer is found not in Scripture, but in a specific historical decree. Around 364 AD, the Council of Laodicea convened and issued Canon 29. This canon explicitly states Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath. Instead, it commands them to work on that day and honor the Lord's Day, Sunday. This was a deliberate, man-made transfer of sanctity from the seventh to the first day. Now compare this ecclesiastical law with the total silence of the New Testament. You will search in vain for a single verse that nullifies the fourth commandment. No apostle, not even Paul, ever instructed believers to abandon Sabbath observance. The shock comes from realizing a core practice was changed by church authority alone. This was a stunning replacement of a divine ordinance with a human tradition. The impact fractured the continuity of biblical worship for countless generations. It created a disconnect between the faith of the Old Testament prophets and the practice of the modern church. This decree fundamentally altered Christian identity and practice for centuries to come. Now, let's directly confront the primary scriptural arguments used to defend Sunday worship. Many 7, where disciples gathered on the first day of the week to break bread. But this was a farewell meeting for Paul, who was leaving at dawn, not the establishment of a new weekly Sabbath. The text clarifies this was an evening gathering, following the biblical day that begins at sunset. This was a special communion service, not a command to change the day of worship. Paul explicitly calls this a private, home-based storage of funds, not a public worship service. He was organizing a one-time relief collection for Jerusalem, not instituting a new holy day. Perhaps the most emotional argument is that Sunday honors Christ's resurrection. While the resurrection is the cornerstone of our faith, no scripture ever commands a change. Jesus himself never authorized transferring the Sabbath's memorial function to another day. The apostles continued worshiping and teaching on the Sabbath long after the resurrection. These common justifications, when examined closely, simply do not support a biblical change. They describe specific events, not a new commandment replacing the fourth. So, having seen the historical shift and examined the scriptural evidence, what does this mean for your walk with God? This is not a call to legalism, but an invitation to receive a divine gift. God designed the seventh day as a sanctuary in time, a 24-hour period for you to cease your labors. It is a holy space for deep communion with your Creator, free from the world's relentless demands. This practice is about sanctification, setting apart what God has already made holy. Imagine a weekly rhythm where you truly disconnect to reconnect with what matters most. This is about claiming God's promise of rest for your weary soul. The Sabbath is a memorial of creation, a weekly reminder that He is your Maker and Redeemer. It is also a sign of sanctification, a tangible expression of your covenant relationship with Him. Observing it is an act of trust, declaring that God, not your work, provides for your needs. This obedience brings profound blessing, refreshing your spirit, mind, and body. It realigns your priorities with heaven's perspective, restoring divine order to your life. So, I challenge you to personally study this in your own Bible. Ask God for the courage to align your worship with His clear, unchanging command. Embrace this gift of rest and discover the profound peace He intended for you from the beginning.